not only by the financial economy, but by the tax system. Once the creditor class gets control of the tax system and untaxes itself, untaxes its customers, mainly landlords and monopolies, then you have the economic surplus not used to increase living standards, not used to increase capital investment, to increase productivity, not used to create the leisure society that people expected that they were going to get back in 1945 at the end of World War II when economies were pretty debt-free, but simply to load the economy down with more and more debt that stifles growth and ultimately ends up stripping all of its assets. So that's why I say if you want to look at the future of the United States economy, look at what's happening in Iceland, Latvia, and what used to happen in third world banana republics that were strapped by debt.
Now, with regard to the magic of compound interest, a few years ago, I bought an item at a store for $34, and I misplaced the bill and I ignored it. And within a year, the $34 charge went up to like $200 or $300.
That wasn't simple interest. That's where all the fees that they added on. So what used to be looked at simply as a financial return of interest, the financial sector has essentially got itself exempt from the state usury laws. When you mentioned before about Paul Volcker raising the interest rate to 22%, interest rates were so high there that in order to borrow money, you weren't allowed to under the state usury laws, so the states abolished all their usury laws. And not only did they abolish the rate of interest that could be charged, but they abolished all of the side charges for penalties and late fees and all of the other things, which is how IndyMac and Countrywide and the other predatory lenders have all been making their money. And these are the banks that, instead of throwing the heads of these banks in jail and prosecuting them, the government bailed them all out and made them all billionaires. And then instead of taking them over and running them in the public interest, left them in private hands, and then didn't even take the earnings that someone like Warren Buffett would have taken from them. So what you have is a travesty of financial regulation here, and you have the economy being regulated by the financial sector instead of the economy regulating the financial sector. Something has to give, either the financial sector or the real economy, and the government sacrificing the real economy to the financial sector because they're the people who bought control of the political election and lobbying process.
In Bogus Solutions to the Financial Crisis, you go on to say that the latest panacea being offered to jumpstart the economy is to rebuild America's depleted infrastructure. But you also see a deficiency in this proposal. What is it?
Well, if the government were rebuilding the infrastructure like they did in the 1930s, you'd be hiring people, you'd be putting them to work, like all of the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, WPA, Works Administration, all of these other things. Instead, the government is doing what is its version of what in Britain was the public-private partnership initiative, and essentially selling off infrastructure on credit to let private buyers come in and buy out the road system, the streets for the parking meters, anything that's in the public domain, and essentially charging whatever they want without regulation. So America's becoming basically a Thatcherite or a Yeltsinized economy.
And finally, you write that what economics really is all about is the debt overhead, financial fraud, and crime in general, military spending, a key to the U.S. balance of payments deficit and hence to the buildup of central bank dollar reserves throughout the world, the proliferation of unearned income, and insider political dealing.
Well, Adam Smith called his book The Wealth of Nations because he was writing about how to get wealthy. The way to get wealthy today is not by producing goods and services, certainly not to work for a living and save. It's to make a living by what the classical economists called rent-seeking and what John Stuart Mill called the unearned increment. It's to make money in a predatory way by getting something for nothing, by being able to charge a price for something that doesn't have a cost of production. Charge a price for land that you've been able to buy on the cheap. Buy a parking meter patent from a city and be able to put parking meters there. Essentially, to turn the economy into what the classical economists called a rentier economy, mainly a rent-seeking economy, a toll booth economy, where people just get rich by charging for what used to be free.
Michael Hudson, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie.
There's something happening here. Yeah. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
I've been speaking with Dr. Michael Hudson. Today's show has been Dress Rehearsal for Debt Peonage. Michael Hudson is a financial economist and historian. He is president of the Institute for the Study of Long-Term Economic Trend, a Wall Street financial analyst, and distinguished research professor of economics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. His 1972 book, Super Imperialism, The Economic Strategy of American Empire, is a critique of how the United States exploited foreign economies through the IMF and World Bank. He is also author of The Myth of Aid and Global Fracture, The New International Economic Order. Dr. Hudson has written many articles on the current global financial crisis. He has been a consultant to foreign governments, including Canada, Mexico, and Russia. Visit his website at www.michael-hudson.com. That's Michael-Hudson, Hudson.com.